Good morning. I can already feel my shoulders going back and breathing in and out on the inspiration that we've already heard from our kind hosts, the Singaporean government and Temasek. I'm here from another island nation on the other side of the earth, also committed to the transitions necessary to bring prosperity, to bring safety, to bring security to our own people. We stand at a moment where we have to hold two truths in our hands at the same time. As others have already said, we are in a disconcerting, confused world where some of the systems that we've relied upon for the last decades seem to be in question. We stand at a moment where, while there is more investment flowing into green energy, into a clean economy, an economy that will work better for everybody, we still see parts of the world doubling down on a fossil fuel economy, which is unhelpful to the planet, but also unhelpful to us as human beings. We see more security from the collaboration necessary around the energy transitions in Asia and other parts of the world, as we've already heard. But at the same time as we see that, we see competing visions of how we should manage our investment and trade policies and whether or not we are going to truly commit to the prosperity that comes with that vision. In the UK, last year we changed government, a government committed to a domestic, aggressive energy transition, aggressive in its timeline and in its scale and scope, as the bedrock of the prosperity and growth that we need. And because we now only account for 1% of global emissions, our engagement with the rest of the world as a pragmatic partner becomes ever more important, because that's where the emissions may continue to grow and need to be curbed in a way that is fair. And so our energy transition at home is the bedrock of a foreign policy which is not about do as we say, but is about do as we do. We were able to retire our last coal-fired power plant in October of last year. We've attracted more than $46 billion worth of investment into our clean economy since July, much of it coming from this part of the world. And Singapore is an important trade and investment partner in our journey. And we, as a pragmatic partner, will be an important, we hope, trade and investment partner for Singapore, for ASEAN and the wider region. 10 days ago, we hosted an energy security summit in London together with the International Energy Agency. And what was extraordinary is that in these troubled times, in this disconcerting period where we need to be picking up the pace of our energy transitions, and yet we are distracted, the atmosphere amongst the 60 partners that were there, 60 countries that were there, including Singapore and others from the region, was about rolling up our sleeves and finding ways to collaborate ever more intensively in the regional and in the broader energy system transformation that we're going through. The security of our energy systems, from interconnectors and transmission systems that work across boundaries, that will allow us to be able to take on board more and more renewable energy. The ability to be able to withstand cyber attacks, but also the insecurity of our energy systems from ever more intense climate impacts. All of this was forcing us to a deeper and broader collaboration. So in our own energy transition, we know that the key is affordability, and this is echoed in markets all around the world. That affordability comes from the innovation in our policy approaches and in the way in which we finance our energy systems. We've heard a lot about finance already this morning. We see ourselves in the United Kingdom as a financial partner. We have built up, as well as the technical expertise to be able to transform our own energy system, a lot of expertise in how to blend finance. It is the hallmark of our engagement now as a trade and investment partner in the energy transition around the world. But we're also increasingly committed to building out carbon markets so that they provide a reliable stream of revenue to countries who need to speed up and scale up their energy transitions and their resilience. We're working closely with Singapore under the leadership of Ravi Menon and the Singapore Monetary Authority and now Climate Envoy to find ways to build the kinds of collaboration necessary to build on the hard work of integrity which has been undertaken in the last few years and which now will allow governments to send the signals to those hard-to-abate sectors and the companies within them that they can trust in the carbon markets as a way to speed their transitions, at the same time as providing the energy, the revenue streams that are much necessary. So if we can stimulate new streams of finance, if we can build carbon markets that are able to provide that stream, we can perhaps attack one of the issues which is at the core, I think, of the lack of trust in the climate challenge, in this challenge of how to help people prosper as we transition to a cleaner world. And that is the fairness that people miss in the international financial system and in the trading system. In September of last year, the Foreign Secretary for whom I work made a speech around putting nature and climate at the very heart of UK foreign policy. What did he mean by that? What he meant was that in this era, this new chapter of British foreign policy, this is the way to reset our relationships to be fairer with developing countries, low-income countries, small island developing states. But it is also the bedrock of trade and investment for the next generation as well. And so we will explore all of that individually, but with ASEAN and with other countries in the region. But that fairness is also at the heart of the other challenge that we have, which is the challenge of resilience. How do we make life on Earth possible and fairer for everybody? This means that we have to find out how to finance the resilience of landscapes, the resilience of people, and the resilience of the economic activity that those people undertake on the landscape. This goes well beyond climate finance. This is the challenge of financing transitions which will allow everybody to prosper. And that's why I'm pleased to be here at this remarkable conference, which has grown so fast over the last 11 or 12 years. We stand here as a pragmatic partner in finding ways to collaborate more radically in order to speed up the transition for everybody. Despite the fact that we can easily be distracted by the geopolitics, we know that the long-term trends are still underway, and it is a question simply of scale and pace. We draw inspiration from the vision here in Singapore. We draw inspiration from the enormity of the challenge that a vulnerable Southeast Asia faces, but we stand ready to be a partner in finance, in our technical knowledge, and sure in the fact that we try to do as we do, and we don't just ask you to do as something that we have pledged to in an international conference. In November of this year, we will all gather in Belém in the Amazon to try to find a way to look at a next 10-year period of implementation. Not just talking and pledging, but doing and investing. What better place to discuss that than here in Singapore? Thank you.